Number 2 is about managing muscle tightness. Now, that can mean stretching, but that can also mean some sort of tissue massage. Now, that could be self-massage, that could be with a foam roller, that could be by another person, or therapist, I should say. But managing muscle tightness is another one, because albeit a secondary issue, it creates compensations that can create further pain or issues in a different part of the body. So we get the initial lower back pain, but what we have to do is try and contain it there, because if we get too many compensations, that could then go down into the hip, which could then go down into the knee, into the ankle, could go up the back to the shoulder, whatever it needs to be. So we have to think about it in some respects from a holistic approach. Now, it could be that we need to deal with the initial problem before we can deal with the secondary problem. So again, we have to understand what is the main tightness that we need to manage. But essentially, what muscle tightness is doing is potentially creating a compensation which creates further pain somewhere else. The main places to look for this is the joint above and the joint below, so the hips and the upper back. So we need to look at those. So we need to look at the hips as an example. Can you extend the hips well? Can you flex the hips well? Do you have adequate external rotation or internal rotation? So we have to go to understanding, first of all, what movement of the hips do we have and what movements of the hip don't we have? Or do we have adequate flexion but inadequate extension, or adequate external rotation or an inadequate internal rotation? So we need to understand all these different types of range of movement to be able to understand the type of range of movement that we need to create and the type of therapy that we may need to use for it. The same goes for the upper back. Do we have good rotation to the right? Do we have good rotation to the left? Are we able to extend the spine? Because if we can't extend the spine, we're going to extend the lumbar spine, because that's going to be a compensation for the inability to extend the upper spine. Then we can start to ask, is our lower back pain to do with extension of the lumbar spine? Because if we can't move the upper spine, but we can move the lumbar spine, and our back pain is due to extension of the spine, then the upper back tightness could be contributing to it. So you can start to see now how this goes together. It's the same with hip extension. If we can't extend at the hip, but we can extend at the lumbar spine, then the lack of hip extension could be impacting the pain in the back. So if we can get the hips to extend, we can start to resolve our lower back pain. The other one is muscle trigger points. Now, muscle trigger points, they refer pain. And if we talk about referring pain into the buttock or down the back of the leg, there are a number of muscles that do that. You've got the QL that does it. You've got longissimus iliocostalis that start to do it. You've got glute medius, glute minimus that do it. You've got piriformis that does it. So you've got a number of muscles that can give the same symptom, but they all come from a different place. If you stretch those muscles, it's not going to do a great deal. But if you massage those muscles with frictions on the specific trigger points, then we're going to be able to resolve and reduce that pain. And again, you can find that in the workshops, in the manual, so you know where to look and what muscles to work on. So muscle tightness is going to be a part, or could be a part, of the of your lower back pain. But again, you have to know what you're looking for, and that is what the manual is for, is to help you look for where your problem is coming from so you can go and look for it. And all this episode is about is trying to understand what are the potential factors that you might need to work on, and then you can go looking at which one that you need to work on, if that makes sense. And you can do that in the manual. So managing muscle tightness is or can be a key part, just as with managing posture. And at the moment, we haven't talked about any strengthening. It's all been about managing posture and muscle tightness.